Captain Asha Tran stood alone on the observation deck of the RSV Aurora, her reflection faint against the panoramic viewport of reinforced transparent durasteel. Beyond the glass lay the Sangria Expansa region of space where nebular filaments drifted like ethereal clouds and dark matter eddies churned with unseen currents. But in this moment, her gaze was fixed not on the beauty of the void, but on the smoking ruins of New Crest Station. The station had been a modest outpost and industrial hub for mining helium-3 from the nearby gas giant Arista 7, and a waypoint for merchant convoys venturing deeper into unclaimed space. Its cylindrical habitat rings and solar rays should have gleamed like a beacon. Instead, they hung in pieces. One ring had fractured entirely, its segments yawning open like gaping wounds. Plumes of ionized gas curled into the blackness, and shattered panels drifted free, catching distant starlight in jagged flares. "Captain," Lieutenant Malik's voice crackled through the calm terminal at her elbow, drawing her back from the devastation. "We've found the origin point of the blast. See for yourself." Asha tapped the console, and the viewport shifted to display a high-resolution overlay. Tiny clusters of superheated shrapnel radiated outward in a near-perfect sphere. "No, secondary detonators," she murmured, tracing the pattern. "That blast was singular, precise, surgical." Malik's reply was grim, almost like someone wanted to erase the station completely. No survivors, no trace of life, not even a personal log left untouched. She inhaled slowly, fighting the tightening in her chest. New Crest was the first to fall, but it would not be the last if the threat was allowed to roam unchecked. "Science team," she ordered, "analyze isotopic signatures on that debris. I want to know if this was a human-made weapon or something entirely different." As the Aurora drifted closer to the wreckage, the deck lights hummed with tense energy. Crew members in response suits floated through murky half-gravity, scanning the debris field. The hiss of their enviropacks blended with the distant thrum of the ship's engines. Asha moved among them, her boots clicking softly on the grated floor. She found Dr. Lena Ortiz crouched beside a mangled thruster housing. "Dr. Asha," said, voice low, "anything yet?" Lena's gloved hand hovered over a shard of charred alloy. "The blast's thermal signature is off the charts, over 10 million kelvins at peak. But what's curious is the residue. You're looking at a crystalline lattice infused with an element we can't match to any known periodic table entry." She turned the fragment toward the viewport lights. It shimmered with an iridescent sheen. "It almost behaves like both matter and energy." Ash's throat went dry. Could it be extra-dimensional? Something ripping a hole through spacetime to deliver this blast? "Possibly," Lena replied. "I've sent the data to the main lab. We'll know more in a few minutes." Before Asha could respond, the comm console chimed again, this time with a different frequency, one that bypassed the Aurora's standard encryption. She tapped the alert. A voice filled the deck, echoing through the bulkheads. It was deep, so deep that the notes reverberated in her chest and laced with a resonance that shook the soul. "You have struck at our kind. Now we come for reckoning." The words were spoken in flawless common, but every syllable felt ancient, otherworldly. Even the most fluent xenolinguist would have recognized the patterning, a language woven through the fabric of cosmic history, older than humanity's oldest myths. Ash's pulse hammered. She looked around at her bridge crew faces, pale, eyes wide. She could almost taste the electric tension in the recycled air. "Status," she barked, "Ensign Co." At the tactical console, worked the sensors furiously. "No solid contacts, Captain, but we're detecting subspace distortions. Waveforms, like something moving in the gaps between dimensions." Malik leaned close. "There's a signature trailing the transmission. It's faint, but it's there, a vector pointing deeper into the rift." Asha drew a slow breath, fists clenching at her sides. "Open a secure channel and reply." Her voice was calm, though her heart thundered. She keyed the mic. "This is Captain Asha Tran of the RSV Aurora. Identify yourself." Silence. Then the resonance returned, even more solemn. "I am Morith, Herald of the Celestial Fangs. You have trespassed where no human should tread and awakened what lies beyond. Prepare yourselves." The deck lights flickered as if caught in a resonant pulse. The hum of the engines pitched upward, and every console screen rippled with static. For a brutal heartbeat, it felt as though the aurora itself might shatter. "Helm," Asha ordered. Voice steely, evasive pattern Gamma 2. "Science, keep scanning that vector. Weapons, stand by red alert." The crew snapped to action. The aurora executed a series of fluid maneuvers, twisting through the ink-black sea of stars. On the tactical display, hypothetical trajectories of incoming threats danced across the grid, a ballet of danger. In the aftermath of the transmission, the station's wreckage seemed almost peaceful, like the aftermath of a storm. But Asha knew better. The words "you have awakened what lies beyond" were no empty threat. Somewhere out there, in the liminal spaces between known reality and the unfathomable, something had taken notice of humanity's reach. She turned back to the viewport and closed her eyes for a moment, recalling why she had joined the Solar Union Navy: to explore, to protect, to push back the darkness and secure a future among the stars. Yet now her ideals felt as fragile as the shattered rings of New Crest. When she opened her eyes again, she saw not devastation, but purpose. "All right," she said quietly to herself. "Let's find out what we've stirred and if there's a way to put it back before it's too late." She tapped the comm panel. "Admiral Quillen, this is Captain Tran. We've encountered an unknown entity self-identified as Morith of the Celestial Fangs. Transmission warned of reckoning. We require authorization to engage recon probes into subspace corridors. Over." As the aurora slipped beyond the glare of distant suns, forging a path into the heart of the rift, Asha Tran braced for a confrontation unlike any in human history. The fate of the scattered colonies and, perhaps, of humanity itself hung in the balance of what came next, and somewhere in the swirling folds of space, the dragons waited. The RSV Aurora slipped deeper into the Sangria expanse, its hull plates humming with tension as the crew strained to interpret every flicker on the sensor grid. Captain Asha Tran stood beside the science console, arms folded, watching Dr. Lena Ortiz pore over streaming data. "Readings from New Crest's wreckage are still inconclusive," Lena said, her brow furrowed. "But hear these subspace echoes." She tapped the holoscreen, and a cascade of rippling lines appeared. They form a pattern, repeating every 3.7 seconds. "It's too regular to be natural." Asha leaned in. "Could it be an automated defense, a distress beacon?" "Neither," Lena replied, adjusting the spectral filters. "It's layered first-order resonance, then a harmonic overtone, then a third waveform that aligns with no known physics. I've never seen anything like it." Beyond the viewport, the rift's nebular wisps glowed in soft violet and emerald, like auroras born from dying stars. But the beauty was deceptive. This region was a swirling labyrinth of temporal eddies and gravity wells. One wrong maneuver, and the aurora might find itself torn apart by a rogue void current. Ash's comlink chimed. Lieutenant Malik's voice crackled through. "Captain, we're detecting large mass readings off the starboard bow. They're cloaked, but registering on gravimetric sensors." On screen, Asha ordered. The holoscreen shifted to show a three-dimensional scan of the void ahead. Diffuse outlines that pulsed with an inner light. 8 shapes drifted in formation, each nearly 3 kilometers from wingtip to wingtip, their edges streaming with green and gold tendrils of static energy. Ensign Co, pale at the tactical console, whispered, "Those can't be ships." Lena's eyes widened. "They're biological, but scaled, like enormous dragons floating in space." Asha fought down a surge of disbelief. "Dragons don't exist," she said, though her voice wavered. "Yet," Co said, "these are the same silhouettes in the old mythos draconians, cosmic leviathans. We thought the legends were allegory." Lena shook her head. "This is no story. Their energy signatures match the debris residue from New Crest. Both exhibit that same crystalline lattice behavior. They're linked." The aurora slowed, thrusters whispering over the long-range scanners. A greenish haze gathered around the largest form, then coalesced into a bulbous maw more than a kilometer wide. A pair of cobalt eyes opened, molten and sorrowful. A hush fell over the deck. Even the hum of life support seemed muted. The comm panel glow changed to red, an incoming transmission. The voice that filled the bridge was low and resonant, a vibration felt in the bones. "Son of the Starforge, daughter of the Void Seam, hear our lament. "Open it," Asha said, voice measured. "You trespass upon sacred currents. You stain the cosmic weave with your recklessness. Withdraw, or you shall drown in the dragon's lament. State your purpose," Asha replied, "or we will defend ourselves. Defend." The threads of fate unravel at your touch. You unmake wonders you cannot fathom. Begone, lest we reclaim what you have marred. Before Asha could respond, the lead dragon unfurled its wings, massive membranes of pure energy, spanning the distance of the aurora's entire length. When it moved, the starlight bending in its wake painted ripples across the viewport like storm-racked sea. "Helm," Asha commanded, "evasive vector Delta 4, science. Scan their wing resonance frequencies. Weapons. Stand by in defensive posture, no aggressive fire unless I give the order." The crew sprang into motion. The aurora looped away, gyros whining as they oriented for the new vector. Ensign Ko's fingers danced across the tactical pad, and Lena focused on her console, eyes darting between readouts. "Captain, their plasma scale. Membranes are harvesting subspace energy," Lena announced. "They're feeding on the rift itself. If they get close enough, they could tear a rift in our hull literally." She pointed to an overlay. "And that harmonic overtone in their wings, it matches the oscillation signature we saw on the wreckage." Ash's jaw tightened. "So the same power that leveled New Crest is their natural resonance." Before Lena could answer, the holo display flagged a warning, a spike in subspace distortion directly ahead. The aurora shuddered as though caught in an invisible current, throwing crew into grips and railings. The dragons advanced. Each beat of their wings sent shockwaves through space, rolling oscillations that blended gravity and energy. Sparks showered across the bridge's lighting grids, and the air seemed to hum with an ever-deepening undertone. Asha raised her voice. "All stop, let them pass." Gasps rippled through the bridge. "Captain," Malik queried, "they're not attacking yet," Asha said. "Let's see what they do." The aurora drifted into the shortest range, engines idle, as the dragons glided past. Up close, their skin revealed an intricate lattice of glowing runes patterns that pulsed in time with the subspace waves Lena had detected. The lead dragons, massive, I pondered Asha for a slow count of 5 heartbeats, then slid past, the others following like ancient guardians on patrol. Once they had passed, the rift fell eerily silent. The screens flickered back to normal, and the aurora's engine hum returned, low and steady. Asha exhaled. "Report." Lena rubbed her temples. "They're unlike anything on record. Their energies, they're part biological, part cosmic structure. They maintain coherence through subspace harmonics. They can phase in and out of our dimension at will." She looked up, voice hollow. "We can't fight them." Malik shook his head. "And they know we did something to provoke them." Their words weren't just a warning, they were grief. Asha closed her eyes, recalling the hollow ring of Morith's voice at New Crest. "They think we're invaders," Ensign Ko spoke softly. "Maybe there's still a chance to communicate. They didn't open fire yet." Asha nodded, resolve settling in her bones. "Science, piece together a return transmission, an offer of dialogue. But make it clear, we'll defend ourselves if necessary." As Lena crafted the reply, Asha gazed out at the drifting shapes of the Draconians, beings of legend, brought to terrible reality. In their silent vigil, she sensed both an invitation and a challenge to bridge the gulf between human ambition and cosmic balance, or to face the full fury of the celestial fangs. The aurora's shields hummed back to full power. In the approaching gloom of the rift, hope and dread coiled together, whispering that the true battle lay not in laser fire or plasma bursts, but in understanding and, perhaps, atoning for the ancient sins that had drawn the dragons from their slumber. The Solar Union fleet coalesced at the edge of the Sangria expanse, like a steel leviathan ready to strike. Admiral Rowan Quillen's flagship, ISS Valiant, led 5 battlecruisers, 3 destroyers, and a screen of corvettes. Behind them trailed the battered RSV Aurora, its hull scored with microfractures and singe marks from the Draconians' initial warning salvo. Captain Asha Tran surveyed the armada from the Aurora's command deck, her posture rigid with determination. "Battle stations," Asha ordered. "Target priority. Protect civilian convoys and the orbital ring of Haven Colony. Weapons, Lock onto that formation of 5 Leviathans to a clock bearing. Range 20,000 clicks. On the tactical holoscreen, LT, Ko's fingers danced. 5 great silhouettes materialized, dragon forms broad as cruisers, their plasma latticed, scales glowing emerald and violet. Between them, smaller wormlings darted like hunting hounds. The Leviathan dragons, ancient guardians of the rift-circled Haven Colonies' orbital platforms, their wings beating silent shockwaves through space. A thunderous voice crackled over the fleet comlink. Admiral Quillen's tone was grim but unwavering. Union vessels, this is Rowan Quillen. The Draconians have broken our outer defenses. Reinforce the ring at grid point H3. We cannot let Haven fall. Admiral, weapons are primed, Ensign Lark reported. Phase pulse cannons at full charge, awaiting your command. Asha nodded. All ships on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. A ghostly blue flare erupted from the Valiant's bow, sending a cascade of phase pulse beams streaking ahead. They punched through the rift's haze, converging on the largest dragon. Explosions blossomed on its flank, showering astral embers into the void. But instead of recoiling, the dragon's wings shimmered, absorbing the pulse and radiating it. Back in a concentric ring of subspace distortion, alarms chimed as the Aurora's aft shields tremored. They're redirecting our own fire. Lena Ortiz shouted. The harmonic feedback is overwhelming our grids. A crimson lance of plasma lanced from the dragon's maw. It pierced the leading destroyer USS Valor, rupturing its hull like tissue paper. The Valor exploded in a burst of molten metal, and fragments whirled into the sky like deadly shrapnel. The fleet staggered. Evasive maneuvers, Asha ordered. Voice cold. Bring point defense online, protect the corvettes. The Aurora pivoted, thrusters flaring, weaving through the wreckage of human vessels. In the distance, the orbital ring's generators glowed purple as they strained to keep Haven's atmosphere from venting into space. Refugee transports clustered, close beneath the ring's shadow, oblivious to the cosmic fury overhead. From the comm console came the panicked plea of Colonel Irvin Mathis aboard Haven's control station. Union Fleet, this is Haven Colony. We're losing power on grid sectors. Our life support is failing. You must hold them off. Ash's jaw clenched. We need something more than firepower. Science, what do we know about their formation? Any pattern we can exploit, Lena's. Fingers flew over the console. Their plasma spines pulse in a synchronized harmonic across all scales. If we can introduce a counter-oscillation, something to disrupt their subspace coherence, we might briefly stagger them. Can we amplify a counter-wave with the Aurora's subspace resonator? Asha pressed. I can try, Lena said, eyes bright with grim hope. But it'll take precious seconds to calibrate. Seconds they did not have. The dragons descended on the orbital ring, wings sweeping down in a gale of subspace energy. Sections of the ring collapsed under the shockwaves, sending tidal pulses that rocked every ship in the formation. Refugee transports screamed as they plummeted toward the planet below. Asha turned to the helm. Hold point. Let me through. We need line of sight to the lead dragon. The Aurora surged forward, weaving between collapsing ring segments. Plasma bolts whipped past the viewport as corvettes and destroyers made their last stands. A child's cry echoed faintly over Asha's headphones, the live mic from a nearby transport reminding her of what they were fighting for. Got it, Lena said, breathless. Resonator is charging counterwave. We get one shot. Asha's voice was steely calm. Do it. Lena slammed her palm onto a glowing control pad. The Aurora's subspace resonator, a spherical lattice, hung in the cargo bay, lit up in prismatic arcs. A low-frequency hum grew, filling the ship with an almost tangible vibration. Every console flickered. The ship seemed to inhale. Outside, the dragons halted. Their wings hung motionless, eyes narrowing as if puzzled by the Aurora's defiance. Then the resonator's counter-wave erupted, a rippling wave of negative subspace energy radiating outward. For a heartbeat, the massacre paused. The dragons' bodies tore at their own coherence, scales flickering between visible and impossible states. Then, as if shaken free of a stupor, they roared a sound that shattered comlinks and rattled souls. The counterwave flared across the ring, mending fractured sections for a fleeting moment. Refugee transports steadied, but the dragons recovered. their wings beating in defiance, and the resonator's glow dimmed. "They're adapting," Lena cried. "They're ray-synchronizing at a different frequency." Asha ground her teeth. The Aurora's shields buckled. Under a punishing blast from the largest dragon, in the viewport, a colossal maw opened, and a torrent of green-blue plasma surged toward the ship. Asha slammed the ship into a hard yaw, sliding aside mere meters from impact. The plasma struck the ring. It shattered in brilliant arcs, sending shards of energy raining across the fleet. More corvettes succumbed, the Valiant's shields groaned under the onslaught. On the bridge, panic threatened to take root. Asha raised her voice, cutting through the alarms. "This is not a defeat. They're giving us something to talk about: their hesitation, their adaptation. We can still reach them below deck." Lena and her team worked feverishly to reconfigure the resonator. Ensign Ko's hands flew over the science console, overlaying the dragon's new harmonic patterns. The Aurora rocked again. A close plasma strike gouged a crater in the portside hull. "Captain," Ko said, voice shaking, "the lead dragon's subspace signature just spiked. He's calling for reinforcements, another 5 beasts on the way." Ash's heart sank, but she refused to yield. "Then we need to escalate. Shield harmonics at resonance speak the highest safe setting. Everyone brace for feedback. Science, channel all power to the resonator and shields." Lena's eyes met Ash's. "It'll overload the reactor if we push much harder." Asha took a breath, mind racing. "Then we risk it. For Haven." Boom. The Aurora shook violently. The shields flared an impossible white, then folded the resonator's counterwave into itself and unleashed it as a single directed pulse at the lead dragon. The pulse struck with blinding intensity. The dragon convulsed, its form unraveling like a ribbon caught in a storm. For a moment, it hung motionless, a silhouette against the auroral glow of the rift. Then, in a thunderous beating, its wings folded as it plummeted away, disappearing into the darkness beyond sensor range. Silence fell. The remaining dragons faltered, then reversed course, gap phasing back toward the void seam. The refugees and remaining Union ships watched as the Draconians retreated into the shifting folds of subspace. On the Aurora's bridge, the crew exhaled collectively. Consoles rebooted, the hum of engines steadied. Ash's voice broke the quiet. "Status. We held them," Ko whispered. "Haven's orbital ring is stable for now. No new casualties reported." Lena slumped in her chair. "The resonator is spent, but the fleet survived." A soft chime from the comm panel drew Ash's attention. "Incoming high-priority transmission. Tag Dragon High Command." She keyed the channel. The same resonant voice from New Crest crackled through, but this time without menace. It was deep, weary, and somehow sorrowful. "You have shown restraint and courage in the face of annihilation. But know this, we are not your enemies, only your judges. Return to your star paths and prepare for the reckoning. The first of the fangs approaches." Ash's heart thundered. "Who approaches?" "Verunder," the voice replied. "He who bears the memory of stars. Await him at the wellspring remnant, there we shall parley." The channel went silent. The bridge lights glowed softly, and for the first time since leaving New Crest, the crew dared to hope. Asha straightened, gaze clear. "Tell Admiral Quillen, we have a mission. Set course for the wellspring remnant, and crew prepare the Aurora for whatever comes next." As the battered fleet limped away from Haven Colony, the promise of parley shimmered on the horizon, an uneasy truce between humanity's embattled spirit and the titanic forces of the celestial fangs. In the deep cosmic currents, the next chapter of reckoning was preparing to unfold. Molten word stone flowing through yawning chasms. Above it hovered the battered Solar Union fleet, ships silhouetted against the ghostly glow, proof that humanity had come seeking atonement, not conquest. Captain Asha Tran stood on the Aurora's bridge, watching the spectacle below. "Admiral," Quillen's voice crackled through her calm link, "we're holding position, Captain. The Draconians aren't engaging, just circling, awaiting your signal." Asha nodded, though he could not see her. "Understood, sir." Preparing to broadcast our Covenant transmission. At the science console, Dr. Lena Ortiz adjusted the subspace transmitter, her fingers brushing the crystalline lattice that once powered the resonator. "Captain, I've tuned the frequencies to match the Dragon High Command's harmonic pattern. This should reach Verunder directly. Make it so, Asha replied. She braced herself, recalling the path that had brought them here, new crests, ruins, the silent vigil of the celestial fangs, the fierce ballet of plasma and subspace that nearly destroyed Haven Colony. All of it had led to this moment of reckoning. On screen, the wellspring remnant's surface shifted, as if the planet itself were breathing. Then, from beyond the shattered horizon, a colossal form coalesced, Verunder, first of the celestial fangs. His scales glittered with the light of 1,000 nebulae. His eyes burned like distant quasars. The flagship ISS Valiant felt minuscule in his presence. A hush fell over every bridge and command station. Admiral Quillen's voice trembled with awe and resolve. Union Fleet, hold all orders. Let Captain Tran speak. Asha swallowed once. This is Captain Asha Tran of the Solar Union. We stand before you as supplicants, our ancestors. They ignited their starfires from the wellspring seed, ignorant of the balance they shattered. We have defended our kin, but we have also learned humility. She watched Verunder's massive head tilt, as though weighing her words against eons of cosmic memory. The silence stretched. Then, in a voice like rolling galaxies, he spoke. Your courage is matched only by your recklessness. Words are but echoes in the void. Why should we trust the progeny of those who sundered the seed of creation? Asha's heart pounded. She straightened, lifting her chin. Because we seek restoration, not dominion. We pledge to gather the wordstone shards scattered across this world. We will reforge the wellspring seed, under your guidance, and guard it for as long as stars endure. Verunder's wings unfurled, spanning the heavens. The other dragons drifted into view, forming a vast protective circle. Their resonance pulsed in time with the planet's quivering heartbeat. Asha felt the very fabric of reality shudder around her. Then you must prove your intent, Verunder rumbled. 3 trials of the ancient rite must be endured. Only those deemed worthy may touch the seed. Warrior, scholar, and guardian each must step forward. Asha's breath caught. Admiral Quillen's voice came soft through the calm. Captain, she cut in gently. I will undertake the trials on behalf of the Union, but I cannot do it alone. I request a volunteer, a scholar for the right of knowledge, and a guardian for the right of compassion. Silence. Then, over the spine of her ship, Ensign Kaiwen's voice rang clear. I'm a xenopsychologist, Captain. I'll take the scholar's trial. And before anyone could object, Lieutenant Mira Santos added, I've served in Marines long enough. Guardian's trial I volunteer. Asha nodded. Pride and fear knotted in her chest. Very well, we begin at dawn. The first light on the remnant world was unlike any sunrise. As the Aurora's landing shuttles descended through fractured atmospheres, the sky blossomed with ribbons of green and violet light telluric auroras born from the planet's exposed wordstone veins. Below, crumbling spires of obsidian and crystal rose from jagged plains, lit by rivers of molten rock. Asha, Kai, and Mira stood at the fractured altar of the rite grounds, a vast circle carved from wordstone, its runes flickering with draconic energy. Verunder's massive head loomed above, his breath a storm of starlight. Trial 1, the warrior's path, he intoned. Asha Tran, prove your courage. Enter the chasm of echoes, where your fears shall manifest. Only by facing what you dread most can you claim the wordstone shard. The chasm yawned before her, a maw of darkness alive with whispering winds. Asha stepped forward, heart hammering, recalling every loss, the battered hull of New Crest, the screams of heaven's refugees. A ghostly visage rose from the shadows, a spectral form of her father, lost in an early skirmish. His voice, hollow with reproach, echoed, You failed. Me, you carry humanity's guilt. Asha's hand clenched on her sidearm holster. Father, I won't fail again. She ignited the torch on her wristband with each step. The apparition dissolved, until only the open chasm remained. In its depths lay a pulsating shard of blue wordstone. She claimed it, feeling its warmth soothe her doubt. The scholars. Trial awaited Kai Wen in the Crystal Library, a cathedral of prismatic pillars, each inscribed with draconic runes that held memory of stars. To access the shard, Kai had to decode the celestial glyphs' ancient equations that described the seed's creation. Night bled into day as he bent over floating holoscripts, sweat beading on his brow. The glyphs shifted, fractal and alive, demanding understanding rather than rote calculation. Kai closed his eyes and reached out with his mind, tuning into the rune's harmonic resonance. Patterns aligned, the library's pillars glowed. A crystalline sphere descended into his hands, the scholar's shard of deep violet wordstone. Mira's trial of compassion took her to the gardens of echoing souls, ruins overgrown by alien flora, where ghostly images of wellspring colonists drifted like drifting leaves. Each apparition begged for salvation or vengeance, some pleading, others raging at the fallen world. Mira refused to use her weapons. Instead, she knelt, touching the spectral hands, offering forgiveness for ancient sin she did not commit. Her empathy wove through the garden, and the wraiths found rest. In the heart of the overgrowth, a shard of emerald wordstone descended into her palm, its gentle pulse affirming the triumph of mercy. At the right grounds once more, the three approached the fractured altar. Verunder's massive form towered above. "You have faced fear, knowledge, and mercy," he declared. "Now unite the shards and forge the seed." Asha placed her shard in the altar's center. Kai and Mira followed suit. The wordstone shards glowed, weaving threads of blue, violet, and green into a beating orb of living energy. The ground trembled. Light cascaded across the remnant, folding fractured crust and closing molten fissures. Above, the dragons beat their wings, stirring the auroras into a cosmic dance. The reconstructed wellspring seed ascended from the altar, orbiting the planet's core, its baleful pulse transforming into a gentle rhythm of renewal. "Let this be the covenant reforged," Verunder proclaimed. "Let the seed bloom, and let humanity guard it as stewards, not harvesters." Asha inhaled deeply, tears stinging her eyes. "We swear it, first of the fangs." The dragons bowed their colossal heads. In that moment, the scars of ancient hubris began to heal. Light flooded the wellspring remnant, and for the first time in centuries, new life stirred across the planet's surface. Weeks later, as the Aurora and the Union fleet prepared to depart, the Draconians gathered one last time. Verunder hovered above the restored seed, its glow now a beacon visible across the Sangria expanse. "Go in peace, children of stars. May you remember that power is not a gift to be taken, but a trust to be honored." Asha saluted her crew. Behind her, the Draconians phased away, leaving a single falling leaf of cosmic light, an ember of hope for all humanity. As the Aurora jumped to hyperspace, Asha Tran looked back at the gleaming orb of the seed through her viewport. The echoes of the shattered rim were behind her now. Ahead lay a future bound by a covenant of restoration, a promise forged in fire and echoing across the cosmos. And somewhere in the gentle glow, new worlds awaited the careful hands of humankind, guided by the wings of dragons and the wisdom they had earned.